I graduated high school in 1984 from Butte Central. After completing my education at Central, I entered the United States Navy, and after serving my country, I returned back to Butte, and I registered Montana Tech. One of my goals in life when I got back was to play college football. When I was in high school, I was pretty small. I wrestled 119 when I was a senior in high school, so they weren't looking for football players of that size when I graduated. But I grew, and I came back, and Western Montana College had dropped their football program, so I thought I'd give it a try at Tech, and it was Bob Green's first year there. So it was a great experience being coached by Bob Green, but I knew I needed to get my education at Western Montana College. My passion was teaching and coaching, a background that I received a little bit from my mom. She was a teacher in the Butte School District for over 32 years. So I decided that was the passion I wanted to do. I loved sports, and so that's what I followed. So after completing my education down at Western Montana College, I got my first job at Choteau, Montana, and so I taught and coached in Choteau for 3 years. I was the head football coach, assistant track coach, assistant wrestling coach, opened the weight room year-round, and did whatever they wanted me to do there. But it gave me a great background on just learning how to build a team, how to work with a group of people going towards the same goal. And so after leaving Choteau, I went to Kalispell to continue my education, or to continue teaching and coaching, and I was there for a couple years. And at that time, I had a really good friend that was in a business called Jostens. And so Jostens is a cap and gown business, and class rings, diplomas, yearbooks, and his dad was retiring out of this area. And so they gave me an opportunity to come back to Butte and actually take over the independent sales rep area of Jostens for Southwest Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. And so I took over that business, and for 5 years I did that business, and it was successful. I liked what I did. I was still working with kids and students, but I was traveling a lot, and I had a young family. But it allowed me the opportunity to move back to Butte. So that was kind of my background as far as education, and then going into business. But after I was traveling so much, I realized my passion was working in the public, working with kids, and so I went back into education. And I was fortunate enough that Mike Thatcher offered me an opportunity to work out at Rio in the juvenile detention facility out there. When he found out I wanted to get back into education, I had an opportunity to go back to Kalispell, and he offered me an opportunity to go out and teach out at Rio. And so I was with reintegrating youthful offenders out there for a year. An opportunity opened up in the Butte School District, and I was hired in 2002 by the Butte School District. So it was a great move for me, and it got me back doing what I love to do, and that's public service. And so I taught in the Butte School District for 7 years, and at the time I worked towards my master's degree. I first obtained my master's degree from Graceland University, and as soon as I finished that, I realized I had a little bit more of a passion to get into administrative. So I went to Montana State University, got my administrative degree, and I was hired on at Whittier Elementary School as the elementary school principal down at Whittier for 5 years. So that's my pre-government background. Butte-Silver Bow had just had E.J. Ellington with the Parks and Rec Department, and he came for a couple years, and then he had decided to leave, and it offered an opportunity to do something that I thought I could really make an impact with Butte-Silver Bow, with my passion in sports and recreation, and seeing the things that were going on in Butte, and kind of a resurgence of people moving back and wanting to relocate back to Butte and offering opportunities for kids. And my background with students and parents, I saw a need for some recreational opportunities in Butte, and that's why I took the opportunity to apply for the Parks and Rec Department as the director. And with that, it's been kind of publicly put out there that I took a large cut in pay, and I did. And people ask me why I would do that, and I always respond, I don't do what I do for the money that they pay me for. You've got to enjoy what you're doing. And I love being a principal, but I thought I could make a bigger difference in the Parks and Recreation Department, and set forward some goals and some projects, and I thought I was the right guy to lead the project at the time. So, with that, takes me into Parks and Recreation. So do you want me to expand on that, or?
If you want,
Okay.
you've got, you really came at a critical time. You got the playground and the pool. And
right. So, there was some opportunities that, one of the things that was going on is we had just started construction on the Legion Field up at Copper Mountain. And that was from the generous donation of the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation. $1 million was donated. But a lot of people don't realize that Butte-Silver Bow and our workers in Public Works really did all of the work on that park. And we built a $2.5 million facility with a $1 million donation from the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation. And so it took teamwork with all of the departments, water, sewer, budget department, planning, and then our Parks and Recreation guys really were the ones who put the work into the field to develop the field that it was. We did have to hire some contractors when you put in the bleachers, and Markovich Construction did the dugouts and the ticket booth, and we hired independent people for the fencing. But the design of the actual field itself was done by our Parks and Recreation Department. So it shows that we have a lot of talented people in Butte-Silver Bow, and working together we can do some amazing things with different projects. We completed that project, and one of the things that was going on was there was a push to start asking about the pool, and there was some public meetings about what would the public like to see, and that started with E.J. Ellington under his department, and there were some conceptual designs, but it hadn't gone past conceptualizing what really the public wanted. So we went forward, and that was something that really energized me, because I think that this people and the kids in Butte really deserve something. I mean, I grew up with the Correct Pool, and I was at the tail end of the Columbia Gardens, but I have fond memories of playing in the parks, being a young child up at the Columbia Gardens, and the generations before me had the Columbia Gardens. They had something that they really fondly thought about and loved about their childhood. And we had a generation of lost kids that didn't have a facility that really stood out in their minds. We have parks, but we didn't have anything that really was that iconic place that kids could go in the summer. So we took on the project. I went out and recruited some really like-minded people to have the same vision as we did in Butte-Silver Bow of trying to pass a bond issue for the public. They're young professionals along with people that were really proponents of it in the past, of the bond issue, of the failed bond issue. And our goal was to make sure that when we put the bond in front of the people that we really educate them about what it is they're voting for. And so I was fortunate to be in the lead of it, but there were so many players that helped us pass that bond issue. And one of the catalysts was the Town Pump Foundation when they came forward and donated $500,000, because there was a lot of rhetoric going back and forth on a plain old pool. It cost $7.2 million, but if we wanted just a little bit more amenities at the pool, it cost about $8.7 million. So the Town Pump Foundation says, we will give you $500,000, but with the challenge that we raise another $1 million and build all those extra amenities, but only charge the taxpayers the 7.2 for the plain old pool. And that led to a lot of things and a lot of experience and things that I didn't know were out there. I became familiarized with some grant programs, the Land Water Conservation Fund. We applied for a grant and received $150,000. Writing grants and receiving grants, and then actually having to go forward and show all of the documentation that you need to have that shows that you're doing the right things with the requirements of the grants. Those are all, technical skills that are needed with getting grants. And so we're fortunate to raise that $1.5 million. The voters overwhelmingly voted for the bond issue, which twice had been defeated before, so it was an exciting time. And right after that happened, the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation came forward with a donation of $2.5 million to Stoughton Park, which was amazing for them to come and say, hey, we want to contribute to make Stoughton Park something special. And so that was exciting. We had a big announcement, and once we got into the park and realized there was a lot that needed to be done. There was a lot of infrastructure that just had to be fixed. The stormwater system, the electrical, all of the things around the parking lots all needed to be redone. And so just with that $2.5 million, and it's crazy to say, wasn't going to get us a lot that would show in the park. And so we created a master plan of what we really could see the vision of Stoughton Park would be. And we worked with the engineers and myself and the architect and talked about what could this park really be. And we went back to the Washington Foundation and said, this is what the $2.5 million will do for us, and we have to do these things to upgrade it. But, would you be willing to contribute more to have this vision of a destination playground, a lot more amenities, a real family-friendly, beautiful park? And with that master plan, the Washington Foundation came forward and gave us another $3 million to build what we have right now. And so that was exciting times. We pretty much finished that project, and as soon as we were completed with it, we had some projects that we'd like to complete the total park with the golf course Veterans Memorial and working with the veterans of some other upgrades we'd like to do. And the Montana Resources and the Washington Foundation came forward and gave us another $4.5 million to totally complete the park at Stoughton Park. It's amazing. I'm so fortunate to be, in the lead of those projects. But again, it took so much community effort to do that, and then making sure we did the right thing with the money that was given to us. I don't think that the other funding would have came if they didn't feel like we were doing a good job with the money and doing the right thing for the community as we went forward.
So you've got quite a resume there now. So what's the future hold? What are you doing if you're elected?
So for me, I see some, of course, with what we're going through right now, we're going to go through some lean times and some, reassessment of what we need to do in the government, because, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, we couldn't ever predict where we're at. And so what's our tax base going to be like? What kind of businesses were affected, and are we losing businesses? And what are we doing to try to help those businesses survive, and doing everything we can to help those things? But that doesn't keep us from continuing to move forward. I think we have the consent decree on the table, and I think it's vitally important for us to listen to the public again. And the Restore the Creek group has done, we are where we're at because of the advocacy that we had within our community. And so what has come about because of what the Restore the Creek and the advocates for cleaning Butte up to the level that we should have it has brought us to where we are right now. Now, is it a perfect plan? I don't think there's ever going to be such a thing as a perfect plan as we move forward. The restoration of Silver Bow Creek being a waterway will be that's kind of a sticking point, and I think that the public should be able to talk about it, but I don't know if that should be something that we stop the whole process because of that. I think there's an opportunity for us to start restoration and do it at a world-class level. And I do fear that if we don't sign the decree, that it could go back and maybe, it starts all over again, and then are we here 20 years from now having the same conversations and making sure that we're getting that cleanup that, we all know we deserve, but sometimes we have to move forward, as I said before, in our projects. We got to take in all the information and we have to move forward. And I think we're at that point right now. We need to hear the information from all the citizens. I think we have the opportunity to have our voice heard, But I also, as we're looking going forward, this is a possible economic influx that will bring jobs to Butte, that will bring good paying jobs, engineering and construction, and lots of good paying jobs that could ultimately help our businesses out of this tough time, because it's going to bring people to our town to be doing this work. And hopefully in the meantime they see what a great place we have and what we're doing in Butte to make life better. And so I think there's a double-edged sword, but I think right now that consent decree is vitally important for our community. And I hope that as people look at it, they really look at it closely, what we could get, what they're giving us, and how far we've come. And I just look forward to hearing more from the public and where we go from there.